ICP holders, the insanity continues. Price continues to just basically go up only in a period where basically the entire rest of the market is kind of struggling. And so it really does make you wonder what is actually going on here. How high can this go? It's been an absolutely incredible run so far. And so we're going to be keeping a very, very close eye to make sure that we continue to see this level of momentum. I think ICP is something, it's been a sleeping giant. If you've been in it for a while, we've known that something like this was possible. I didn't quite expect this to happen during this time or it to be so aggressive, but that's generally when this type of stuff happens, right? I mean, you have kind of that last capitulation type of play. The last of the sellers get out, and then eventually all you're left with is the most hardcore holders, and then we go from there. So that is what we are kind of seeing, I think, happen right now for ICP. And there's a couple really key takeaways, and I think there's a major lesson that we can learn from XRP holders, and something that I really want to impress upon all of you if you are watching this video. So just make sure that you stay around at least until we get to that. We'll get there in just within the next couple of minutes. But so far, let's go ahead. We'll take a look at the crypto bubbles, because we can see here ICP up almost 20% again on the day, and the rest of the day, well, basically everything else is red. You can see even yesterday, a lot of the crypto tokens that were doing quite well alongside ICP are seeing major moves back to the downside. AIA down almost 50% in a single day, Fetch almost down 20%, Filecoin over 25%, Render 13%, Tau 8%, Virtuals almost 5%. I mean, they're all red except for ICP, which is yet again up another 20%, which is crazy. If we go to the week, you'll see here again, kind of maintaining that 150% gainer on the week, which means it just continues to kind of on a rolling basis go up 150% a week. We've seen this for about 3 or 4 days now, meaning that as some of these early major gainer days roll off, we have other major gainer days rolling on to replace it, which is just wild stuff. You still can see we do have, some AI tokens doing quite well. Filecoin up about 70%, Fetch up about 30%, Near up about 30% as well, or I guess just over 30%. And then we have AIA up almost 400%. This was kind of one of those micro coins that just kind of blew up over the week. And so that's what we're seeing here. And then of course, Graph up about 2%. That I believe is kind of the last AI coin that is in the green. The rest of them are going to be kind of red for the week. Virtuals and Tau being the two that are the most red in kind of the AI space, which is interesting to see. But overall, the story remains to be ICP. It is absolutely smashing. And this is one of the things that I think is just so interesting. If we look at the chart, it looks really, really good. If we look at the hourly, you'll see here we started to see momentum pick here, and just look at it. It just keeps going higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, all the way up. It's really, really good to see. This is kind of the level at which once we broke out, I kind of mentioned like, get ready, things could get crazy. And so far they have, right? We saw the textbook break, retest, and then a continued move back to the upside. It continues to run, getting almost to $10 at a certain point, getting very, very close to that $10 range. But we continue to hold key levels of support here. So the main level, if we're gonna actually zoom out back to the daily and see a key level that we have held support on, which is very, very good to see. Now you will see again, Bollinger Bands continue to be way overextended. RSI continues to be way overextended. This is something that we should be maybe slightly concerned about, but not like, not anything crazy, especially if you're already in the trade. Definitely make sure that you're keeping a very close eye on this, but maybe not necessarily, it's going to be something that leads to a 50% retrace or something. It could, it definitely very much could, but we just want to make sure that we're keeping a very close eye on it here. So the other thing that I want to kind of zoom out to this level to show you is this green trend line. We were facing some level of resistance, had been rejected by it over the past couple of days, but now we have actually broken through it. Now we haven't closed above it on the daily time frame, but that is what this green trend line is. So if we now go back down to like, let's say the hourly, you will see this is both the combination of the green trend line as well as that level of resistance. This is also, I believe, the 0.5 fib level if we do kind of like the fib retrace from the swing high to the swing low. all of this was happening in one spot. Now, of course, naturally, we did get rejected by it in the first run, which I think makes a lot of sense. We did, of course, get rejected by it here again on the second run, but this third time's the charm. We ran straight through, again, did the classic break, retest, and continued move back to the upside, with multiple different candles actually showing this as a support now, which is great to see. So, of course, naturally, what we are going to be looking to see, similar to what we have seen so far, is we should be looking for a break of that kind of legendary $10 range. If we can get back above $10, then again, things are going to be looking very, very good for ICP. I'm actually going to go back out to the daily just so we can draw that fib level again. I don't tend to keep it on here just because it can be very like visually distracting, but I wanted to show you kind of like the swing high to swing low, some of the key levels that we could expect to see coming next. So, of course, that $10 range you can see here, that is that 618 level. The next key level that we would see is about the $12.50 range, which would be the 786. We do also have a bit of a smaller level of resistance here at the $11 range. And then from there, we have kind of the $15.61, which would be the more recent swing high. And then, of course, again, some smaller resistances here around the $14 range. So these are kind of the key levels that I would expect to see on the way up. And then from there, of course, we do have the extension levels. And those extension levels do bring us potentially all the way to about $62, the 3618 getting us to about 53. I know there's a lot of people who are calling for a $50 ICP, and so that would correspond or align relatively decently with this 3618 fib extension level that we have here. So that is something that I am taking a look at. Again, we don't know for sure. Price action has already been pretty extreme, to be completely honest with you. So it does not, or would not, I guess I should say, surprise me if we see a little bit of some calming down, a little bit of some, maybe some, retracing, consolidation, some of that type of stuff. But so far, ICP continues to be absolutely rock solid. And I want to get into the really key thing here that I think we can learn from XRP holders, because if you remember XRP, when it had its insane move, let's go on ahead and we'll just take a quick look here so we can kind of refer back to it. But when XRP had its insane move, just what was it, a little over a year ago, where we see this happen. If you recall, the XRP holders were absolutely, and they still are, the XRP community is absolutely insane. And when they saw this happening, they all were like, yeah, no, it can go higher. I think at that point, the call was for $2. It blew right past $2. It eventually ended up going well past $3. And the XRP community was like, yeah, this is what it's worth. This is what it should be. I'm not selling. Kind of insane behavior, for what we normally see in crypto. And so what I think you can also see exactly what happened here on the Bollinger Bands. You can see exactly what happened here on the RSI. It remained overbought for like well over a month here, while it just went absolutely crazy. And so I think we can see something very similar, or the possibility of something very similar happening here on ICP. It is currently exploding, right? I mean, it's been exploding for about a week or so. There is a possibility that this goes on for several more weeks if we see a XRP-like type of move. And so the key thing here is ICP holders need to know what it's worth, and they need to be holding accordingly. Now, again, this is not financial advice. This is not me telling you to make certain financial decisions or not. But what I am saying is this is, I think, a key lesson that we could learn from XRP, because I do believe genuinely that a large part of the reason XRP went on such a crazy run is because the core XRP community, the community that believed in it while it was getting attacked by the SEC, the community whose coin was getting shaded for multiple years, the whole time they held strong and were like, no, I'm not selling. And then when they finally started to see price go up, they were like, no, I'm still not selling. And so I think we have a very, very interesting thing here for ICP where we could see a similar type of thing. I mean, ICP got absolutely drugged through the mud for multiple months, even maybe the better part of a year. And I think it really caused the capitulation of everyone but the most extreme diehard ICP fans. And so now it really is time for us to see how extreme and diehard are we. And so that is, of course, I think the main lesson that we can take away from XRP holders and the XRP community. Now, of course, make sure that you practice risk management. Make sure that you don't do anything insane. Of course, this is not financial advice. You need to do what makes sense for you. But I do think that there is a very, very really actually apt comparison there with XRP, because we have seen this happen inside of the last year, or I guess just about a year ago at this point. Now, we can actually see this happening and this taking effect. We can see here Fabio, again, I've brought up a couple of his posts over the past several videos. We can see that Coinbase has run out of ICP while Binance keeps topping their exchange wallet to meet increased demand as ICP volume 30x'd in a week. Exchanges are currently struggling to keep up with the large increase for demand. 44.3% of the total supply is locked and cannot be sold on exchanges. Only 10.4% of the supply is circulating on exchanges. As a comparison, BTC supply held on exchanges is 12%. So we realistically could be coming to an extreme supply shock here on exchanges. And this, of course, would be incredible and amazing news, which would continue to see ICP price rise even higher. And so this is the thing that I think we really need to just keep in mind is it's a market, right? Supply, demand. The more supply goes up, the more demand goes down, price goes lower. The lower supply goes and the higher demand goes, price goes even higher. And so we could see with almost 50% of ICP's total supply being locked, these movements can have some extreme impacts. And so I'm going to be watching this very closely, because even though the charts are saying, yes, we might be overextended, even though the charts are saying, potentially we see a pullback here relatively soon, there are some market dynamics going on that are unusual compared to the rest of crypto, particularly with the extremely high locked locked supply rate. And so this is something that we need to be keeping a very close eye on. And then of course, just kind of seeing what happens through the rest of the market. If ICP can continue its strength while the rest of the market is struggling, and we can actually see the market start to turn around, that would be fantastic. Right now, the market is on the brink of being in extreme fear, and ICP is having an incredible run. If we can see this turnaround, you can see here the average of the market is kind of sitting below neutral, but still in neutral. ICP and Zcash and some of the others kind of massively propping it up. But you could see here that if we start to see much of the market move into strong, move into overbought, the fear and greed index starts to tick back towards the greed. We see the exchange liquidation map. The exchange liquidation map is showing more liquidations to the upside on Bitcoin. We could see some moves back to the upside. We could see some more good news coming for the majority of the crypto market. And if we see all of this start to happen, this is incredible news for ICP if it can continue to move from its position of strength that it is already sitting in. So I'm going to be watching very, very closely. Again, hopefully some of you have kind of heard and heeded the lesson that we could definitely take from XRP holders. I think it is an incredible lesson, and one we should be paying very close attention to, because keep in mind, XRP doesn't even have 50% of their supply locked, right? So it should be that much easier for ICP to have some sort of just absolutely mind-blowing run. And so keep that in mind, watch it very closely. Of course, like, subscribe, all that type of stuff if you found the information useful and helpful. And of course, I do really appreciate any comments that you do have. Feel free to drop those in the comment section below. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we will see you in the next one.